going to talk about sharing LabVIEW code and how to get out of the situation that we're in, perhaps, or at least how to make the best of it today. Yes. About me, I'm Andrew, and my relevant qualifications for giving this are I have seen lots of code and I have touched lots of projects, and I have been hurt many times. I'm currently at Digit, having great fun there as an integrator. I was assistant engineer the day before that. Let's talk about you guys. Who here develops with LabVIEW, classic LabVIEW? Again, you've seen the survey results. These are a bit predictable now, but still good. Who works on a project with others? Any solo guys in the house with predominantly solo projects? Okay. And not NXG yet. I'm kind of going to scope this conversation to current gen, because that's where I'm at today and probably for the next few years. I work with RT and FPGA and so on, and often I'm not ready to make the leap. I hope that I can. We'll see when that happens. But again, survey the other day, most of the CLAs are in current gen. Who here develops more than one project on a machine? Anyone do the VM thing and have one project per machine? I think there's something to that, but again, this is
one project per version of LabVIEW.
Project per version of LabVIEW, nice.
Well, per version of drivers, that was like a minute.
There's something to that. You get too many versions of LabVIEW, you only have one version of drivers with them, and headaches.
Well, if the VMs didn't take multiple PA,
that's another problem to solve. Who would like to share code between projects? I assume that you're here, and if you do not have in this, you're not here. Who uses Git or other source code control? Okay. I'm going to give my obligatory speech. I'm going to make it quick because we're at CLA Summit. I think everyone's on board. If not, you need to stop. You tune me out for the rest of the hour. I won't make you leave. You don't have to admit, then be shamed in front of your peers. Just find a Git tutorial. This is a slide from Matt Pollack. I stole it. Conclusions, you need source code control. Even today, people still do this. This hurts you. Source code control seems scary, but I promise you it's a lot less scary than living in a world like this. The client I like to use is SourceTree. It exposes a lot of Git, gives me a nice visual rendering, hides most of the dangerous things most of the time. Give it to it. My red circle in pipe. Ground rules for the next hour. Some terms. Is this a library?
Sure.
This is a stack of books. This is not a library. This is a shelf of books or a room of books. This is not a library. This is the big collection of books of Congress for the next hour. This is not a library. This is not a library. There's a lot of, at large in the larger LabVIEW community, again, CLA Summit, I think we're mostly on board. A lot of people assume library equals LVlib equals library. No room for thought of anything else, not necessarily shutting down, but it's just kind of not even aware. So, what is a library? Library is related to code. It can be any code, it can be any structure. Generally it's self-contained, but you can depend on other libraries. It's not just pieces of a project like modules. An interesting feature of it is one person generally makes it, another person uses it. It's implementation agnostic. Libraries come in on lots of different flavors, and that's important. We're going to look at some of them. The library tends to be static. That changes over time, hopefully, so you can think about it. Ideally, you have this nice release process, you have semantic versioning and so on. But it's not in constant flux. If it's like moving at the same pace as a really rapid project, I don't know if it's quite a library yet. Maybe it's going to be.
Fair to say the interface is static?
Is it fair to say the interface is static?
I look at like the
If you have if you don't have a static interface for a library, you certainly probably don't have a friendly library. But an interface can change. Again, semantic versioning. Hopefully, you're making those differences
So it's relatively static, or do you mean the implementation or the interface?
The implementation of the interface. I feel like we could argue about that for an hour. I think probably yes to most things.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be super picky there. Again, I think I'm casting a broader net perhaps than some of us think about libraries. That's the direction I want to get you to. It's not just an LV that we're going to get away from a specific implementation. Okay. So, and again, this conversation, I've given this twice in a user group and in an iWeek and then next door. The conversation has evolved. And originally, this was a really tightly scoped presentation, just sharing code in LabVIEW. But we need to address the broader picture as well. And many of our historical solutions in the LabVIEW community haven't addressed the differences in kinds of things we want to share. All of these things could be called code. There's code involved in all of them, but I view them as different. There's built artifacts like EXEs, applications, things that give to people to run. There are plugin modules, which are things they give to people to run, but they plug into a part of a larger system, and there is some development process involved in that sometimes too. They're kind of their own wrinkle. There's tools for development. View controls, a pain relief tool, scripting tools, project templates, and so on. There's source code for development, libraries, instrument drivers. This is what most of this presentation focuses on. But we're covering kind of the path that will help differentiate between all of these. Questions? Not you, Chris. So, quiz time. Is this sharing code? No? Disagreements? Okay. Something that goes to the developer so he can build his code with it. Is that sharing code? See a head nodding in the back? Yeah? Yes? Yes. Yes. This should be a solid yes. This is why we're having this quiz. Is a plugin module sharing code? There's a little bit of gray area there, but no.
Yes. No.
I'm going to say plugin modules, you do have a development spot in their cycle, but for the most part, shipping a plugin module is really like shipping an EXE at the built thing. So I'm going to put that on the margins, in that it's partly applicable there, but it's kind of its own conversation. And you should know if you're in that bucket. Is that fair? Put a chunk of source code that does a thing that I want to share.
You mean like copy and paste?
Hopefully you're not copying and pasting. Yes, that's a yes. A library. Yeah, that should be synonymous with like the library above it, the line above it. A DLL. No. Okay, how about if it's when blah 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 there's your DLL, that should be a definite no. That's like an OS resource interface. But what if it's maybe this cool reporting tool that happens to have a DLL in it, maybe a LabVIEW wrapper? Is that sharing code? Yeah. Okay, so this is the gray area, right? Okay, so this is good. This is kind of a plugin module. Okay, so this is, we're kind of on the same page now. Okay. Something goes to a customer, an end user. Someone's gonna run it. No. Okay, good. This quiz is useful. Okay, I'm gonna define the problem a bit more precisely now. But what do we want out of our library and code sharing tool? I hope I'm scoping the problem more tightly. See, I want to get the library from the maintainer to the user, the least amount of headache, the least amount of pain. Okay? That's not specific enough to get to a solution yet. So I'm going to break it down into various attributes of the code sharing methods that have been in the LabVIEW world up to this point. And this is an attempt to be somewhat formal. It's not perfectly academic. These are lessons learned from experience. And so some of them, you'll understand if you've been in the LabVIEW community long enough. I do my best to try and articulate them. So going down the list. I've already skipped some. Okay. First one is there a build process? Do I need a build process between my making of my library, my maintainer, and backup? We talked about library. A maintainer is someone who builds a library, who interacts with the library by contributing to it. Is it one person? Not necessarily. It could be a whole team. but I interact with it in the role of making, building, contributing to the library. A user consumes the library and their application. That's questions on, those are roles. So two roles, not necessarily two people, right? So does my maintainer have to build it? The maintainer cares about that. It's the user who cares less to build because they don't have to build it, right? My preference is I would not like to build it if I could. It's more work. Either have to set up a build chain on every contributor's machine, or I have to maintain some sort of infrastructure, and that comes with its own burdens. Okay, this next one was a bit funny, and I've tried to articulate it 2 times, and I can't put it in better than just being sticky. If you've used LB-libs or LBs, you can kind of know what I'm talking about, but once I put a VI into a structure, can I easily get it out and copy it in something else if I need to? As the maintainer, the user shouldn't be extracting things from a library from a distributed version, right? But these cause problems. If you check the source scope control at the wrong things at the wrong times, you can get conflicts. They're a recipe for headaches. I would like to not have this. Again, this is one of those things learned by experience. Would like to be able to have code in my library that's correctly scoped. That's a good practice. Maintainers and users both appreciate that. I want to have it. Name spacing. Has anyone had a name collision in LabVIEW that they've ever ran into? Bad day, right? I would like to be able to forget about when I name my functions. I'd like to name it whatever I want and not have to worry about it. Maintainer and user both care about this. I don't want to have to tiptoe on, walk around on eggshells worrying that I'll have a name collision. As a user and as a maintainer, I want autonomy to name things in my library that I want. So, preference again, I would love to have this. Can I give my library a version number? Ideally, a nice semantic versioning thing. Maintainer and user both should care about this a lot. See heads nodding. I want this feature to be first class. When I see a library and I'm going to get it, I don't want to get it until I know what version it is, right? I want to get a specific version of the library that I want. So anyone ever loaded a new project from a colleague or a new job and find one of these? How do you know what VI is that? What library is it from? Where do I get it? What version of that library? I've lost more time with this than I care to think about. There are solutions out there that have what I'm going to call a manifest file. With a record of where the VIs and things come from. So now does it put dark matter on my project, dependencies that aren't tracked in my project into my repo? Or does it tell me where everything came from? Ideally, both the library and the version. That would be great. This is a problem that many tools that are still considered best practice today don't address and can still continue creating pain. And I hope we can resolve that from this point forward. This is one of the things I want us to fix.
Are you saying there's bad information regarding dependencies, such things about each of the files inside the library being stored in the library itself somewhere? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if I have a project and I pull in that was awesome library,
Yeah.
I build on it, great, and I give it to Chris, he opens it, he has a record of, hey, this is not his library version 3.7. It's somewhere in the library. The library name, we get it, maybe the version. I know, I don't just get a VI name, missing do.vi. Like, I want more than that.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Okay. There we go. Sure.
So manifest file. I wonder if manifest file isn't too specific, and rather it's manifest. I don't know if it's file or not.
Hey, sure. This is my notation. I don't know. There might be a better name for this out there. But I want whatever packaging, whatever solution to leave a record of where it came from and what version and so on. I want those to be traceable.
Yep.
Right.
That could be metadata inside of your project itself.
Yeah.
It is metadata. It can be metadata. I want to know. Yeah, I want it to be there somewhere.
Yeah.
Dependency resolution, I think we understand this one. If I get library A, I want it to tell me what versions of C and D it needs, and so on. The user cares most about this, but the maintainer kind of cares too, so it doesn't have to write big build install instructions, right? And that's a yes. I would love for this code to show up in my project, for me to know that I have it. I don't like to click on the dependencies and pop that open, and then click on vi.lib and click that open and see 500 VIs that are all built-in LabVIEW things, and then, oh, somewhere down there there's something that might not be built in, maybe that's my VI. No, I want this to be when I import a library, I want it to be first-class citizen in my project, right? Primarily the user cares about this. My preference is yes. What projects can see the library that's installed? And again, you have to have gone through this couple. This isn't immediately evident until you've been doing this a while and tried out several different projects. If you're copying stuff around in a USB key, you won't. I don't know if you'll get this far. Some packaging solutions install things globally or per version of LabVIEW. Would love for it to be project scope. Anyone ship the dependency in a project that didn't need to? Yeah, that's frustrating. More frustrating is when you try and set up on the other side and that dependency's not there. Yeah, this can help with that. Can I create a palette? I'm an avid quick drop user, but I still want the palette open when I'm discovering a new library or a new API, right? And maintainer and user both care about that new user experience. So I would love, again, to have a palette, but have it be project scope. Wouldn't that be cool? If I can install a library for one project and have that palette appear just there. Yeah. And again, some languages, Python has.
Is that a capability within LabVIEW? So.
Is that a current capability?
It's a wish.
This is a wish.
This is a wish.
This is a wish.
Okay.
Many individuals of these are achievable, but not all with the same tool. I'm going to come to that in a minute. Next stop is we're going to look at all the tools that are out there.
Okay.
Okay. Does it help me across multiple LabVIEW versions? Some tools do a better job of this than others. Some downright get in my way and inhibit me. That's might be pointing at PPL, and it's getting better recently, but still.
And this is specifically LabVIEW current gen versions.
LabVIEW current gen versions for now. Does it help me across the divide to NXG? That's another question. I personally am not there yet, but I'm going to be talking to people that presented in this room before and try and see if we can smooth that path out before we get there. And G Central, I'm hoping, is going to help that conversation too. I plan on contributing where I can. RT systems. Even when I separate source from compile, which should also be in the first couple slides, LabVIEW, you can separate source code from compile again. CLA Summit, we know this. Still with RT targets, VIs get pretty sick. If you know how to solve that problem completely so it doesn't happen, let me know. But I'm still caught in this. And certain tools like this, some of these tools I'm going to get to really don't.
Every time you run it,
Why would you say?
Yeah.
One more that I want to add. So once the code comes into the project's context, that should be a zero tax. In other words, at install time, I don't have to recompile or relink.
Recompiling and relinking at install time, that's great. Another comment that was brought up in the last session was, if I load a piece of this, what baggage comes along with it? I don't want to have to load 5 gigabytes of library just because I want one function call. Those are both attributes that I'd like to work in here. Any other thoughts? Okay. This is my ideal code sharing tool, and looking at the attributes we've looked at so far. So now we're going to go on a quest to find this. And we're going to look at all the ways we've been sharing code so far in the LabVIEW world. Another interesting study that we will not do today, but I've taken some look at, and others have to some extent, it's really educational. Look at other package managers out in the world, beyond the LabVIEW world. Linux distribution packages, you've got the Python package manager, you've got NPM, another development package manager. Each of them have different approaches to solve different problems, and many of them approach things differently and solve some problems that can help inform the LabVIEW community. We're not going to go there. We're going to start with LLDs. Who's used LLDs to share code? Who's proud of that?
Well, that's the only way back in the day.
There's a back in the day, and we're going to leave that there. There were days when this was the best way to do it. I'm not going to judge what's happened then, but going forward, I hope we will learn from that. I still defend that there is a use case for LLDs, but that has to do with plugins. I worked with Verisign a lot in recent years, and I'll fight you over that when LLDs are still applicable. But if I have a cool library and I want to get it to you, and LLD is not the answer, that's what I want to confront.
So let me clarify that whole thing I said, don't use them. Definitely don't use them for your source code. Like, you should not be checking in LLDs into Git. For distributing code, like if you're an end user of code, an LLD has the second fastest load time of any file format in LabVIEW. ETL is the only one that's faster. So if you need people, if you've got a very large section of code, and the load time of that code is a concern, you may consider distributing your code as an ETL or an LLD. You can put a LV lib inside of an LLD, so that is a possibility. So when I said don't use them, you mean don't use them for your source code, but there are times where it makes sense to be used for distributed.
Thank you for that comment. To use them for source. I would hope that advice falls within the realm of the earlier presentation of make it work, make it right, make it fast. Hopefully you're not pulling this. This shouldn't be the norm for sharing source code. Okay. It is an answer for some technical problems, and I have other use cases as well.
Also, you have to be careful with classes.
So be careful with classes.
Because they don't like being flooded into a single hierarchy. We have the idea of saying it.
Yes. All these are flat, and so classes don't play nice there. LV libs, LabVIEW libraries. These are one of the ways you can get namespacing. There's a few ways you can get namespacing in private scope today. LV libs are one of those, and they're very valuable for that reason. They have great support for the LabVIEW project. Drop in there. There's VIs. There's the sticky con that LLVs have. There's a two-way linkage that we'd love to get away with. I'm told it's better in NXG. There's a one-way linkage. That's great. It's still a con here today for me. Glad to know it's getting better. But I think there are these pros here that we can't fully get away from. We're going to be coming back to these because of these pros and advantages. Pack project library to me, aside from the use case where you know you need it for a fast load time or a plug-in system, to me it's an LV lib that you need to build. It's a single file. So I'm binding to a specific version of LabVIEW, to a specific target type. It's built. That's not the way to share source. It's not the way to share source. LabVIEW classes are interesting. They're a lot like LV++. They give you inheritance and dynamic dispatch, but everything else, all the other attributes are the same as LV libs, right? The takeaway is there are cases where you need to put a class in an LV lib, but don't just put it in an LV lib to share it with someone, because it already has all those features. Yeah, there's a couple of edge cases where you need to. One of the package managers. I hope it's clear, I'm stepping on toes, not to step on toes, but to identify what features are good, what features we can improve, and what we need to avoid pain in the future. That's my objective, right? Mm-hmm. If we can solve a problem today, I want to call it out, I want to fix it, all our lives will be better. VFPM has done amazing things. They hosted repos, I think they brought us forward decades where, in the LabVIEW world. They transformed everything. They did dependency resolution, they're the first ones to do that in the LabVIEW world. Some of the cons, in my opinion, given what I want, this global scope here is global per version of VI, version of LabVIEW. The LabVIEW version global, right? And it hides code for my project If I don't have a VIPM package when I install, when I pull your repo, what tells me where to get that VIPM package from? What version do I need? That information is lost.
You might also consider the pro that VI packages allow me to perform installation steps. So I might need to prep the environment to receive the package. A prep for an environment might be I need to install a vendor's driver first, or put a DLL and register in Windows, then the VIs can link it, things like that.
You bring up a good point. The package manager, as a package manager, it does more than the previous things by allowing install steps.
Yep.
And not just dependency resolution, but install steps, pre-install steps, pulling in other packages or other things. Thank you. NIPM, this has great NI support. What's interesting is, after evaluating the features, you can tell that the developers focus on different problem set perhaps than VIPM. This NIPM, along with some of the assembling tools, are really great for managing fleets. They're one of the best tools out there. If I have 100, 300 test machines I need to manage, I need to push a new version, a new driver, a new plugin, this is awesome. They do install actions, they do dependency resolutions. Again, the scope is not per project. This is either truly global or per LabVIEW version, depending. Kind of a bit of both. It hides things from my project as well. It's not optimized for VI-lib delivery, which I would argue we should not be putting source in VI-lib at this point, ever. I had a project last 2 months. We had something go bad on us. And it was not the code in the repo. It was not the code in the project. What happened was, whenever this awful thing happened, we couldn't build it. The build would fail. We could check in the code that wouldn't fail, pull it down on another machine, and build it successfully. So whatever the problem was, it was outside of my project. And I couldn't track it, I couldn't troubleshoot it. Spent days troubleshooting it. Didn't stumble on the right thing, but it involved dozens of VI packages and other things that were outside of my project. I couldn't track that. And then I went to try and check my whole LabVIEW folder into Git, try and be able to roll back in the future anything that broke. And of course, once I got in a good state. That timed out after an hour, and I got to resume that some other time. I still think it might be something worth that. But you shouldn't be putting the source in VI-lib either, that's not an answer. Who's familiar with GPM? Who has used GPM? Today. If you're really interested in it, you're already next door. Here's why you should be there next door instead of listening to me. I'm going to give you a 30-second intro. If you go to gpackage.io, here we go. If you go to gpackage.io, you get a website, you scroll to the bottom, there's some install. 3 ways to install it. You run those scripts and install some things, great. Now to use it, you open the GPM browser, and it pops up and says, hey, select your working directory. No other package manager I've used before the LabVIEW world has done that. That's because this cares about one project at a time. You point it to your project, and then it says, okay, tell me about your project. Then it says, okay, I've got your project in my sites now. What packages do you want? I can search for a digit, I can pick some packages, I can install them. Great. So, and then there are also tools for, backing up. When it installs, it leaves some things behind. There's that folder, the gpackages folder. In that folder, you get your libraries. There's also that gpackages.json. That's this. What does that tell me? Package, version, name. Hey, that's a manifest. That tells me what's here. That's the first tool in the LabVIEW world to do this. And that solves a big problem that's causing a lot of pain that is still considered best practice almost. So I see this as a solution there. Okay. There's also tools, there is a workflow for creating a package and publishing it. Actually, anyone pretty much can publish a package in GPM, which makes it easy for all of us to distribute our code there. So, after that quick intro, I have used GPM Pros. It's project scoped, which is more unique. And of course, it does the pre-installs, post-installs, it does the dependency resolution, package manager things. It has a manifest file, which makes it unique. If you wanted a level criticism at GPM, it's a young project. There's not a lot of packages there yet. In my opinion, we just all get on board. That's easy to solve. It's open source. There's not a lot of bells and whistles in it yet, but what is there works well. Let me check the time. Okay. I do have to set up a build chain. So anyone who wants to maintain and publish, I need to maintain that.
Does it do pre and post install steps, or is that null steps there?
Does it do pre and post install steps?
Yes. Pre and post, and separate, I don't know.
I believe so. I'm not sure. We'll have to ask Derek. If it doesn't, it's a pull request away.
Yeah. I think it's a little bit clearer.
Okay. But this didn't satisfy me. I had to try out more. I went and found Git submodules. Actually, give Tanner credit for that. Tanner helped present this in NIV. Git submodules are a native feature of Git. You use Git already, they come pre-installed. There's nothing else you need. Git submodules in a nutshell are, you have your project in your repo. You're going to bring in another repo that's your library as a traceable copy in your repo that's linked to a specific commit of that library. Anyone used submodules before? Okay. Quick intro. This is source tree. There's all sorts of good kinds out there. I'm in the context of my project. I want to add dependency A. So I point it to where's the Git repo for that. I give it a local path within my repo on disk, and it brings it in, it plops it down, and it gives me a file. It's a Git modules file that tells me what it is, and there's a path there, and what commit, what exact version it is. On disk, in my repo, I get the folder with thing in it, I get the Git modules file with, that's my manifest, and my application is there as well. There's no packaging, there's no building. It pulls the repo. Advantage, no build process. There is a disadvantage with that. If you have a mile-long list of unit tests, they come along too. So, just for full disclosure there. Detour time. Dependency resolution, this is important for this. We get this. I have an application, I have a couple of libraries. But when I get this, anyone tried this before in LabVIEW? Load two copies of the same thing? Knowing smile, yeah, that's not fun. LabVIEW doesn't do that well. If you use any of the other package managers that talk about VFDM and IPM, they will give you one copy of A on disk, one copy of B on disk. When you open it the first time, one of them will say, A might say, whoa, library B is not where I expected. If you'll get a warning, okay, save, doesn't bother you again. It just relinks to the other one. Git submodules, by default, if you just kind of go easy mode, it will put two copies on disk. LabVIEW will complain at you. If you're trying to set up a junior developer's computer, here, just go install these, he's going to come and help, it's broken. There are many instances with Git submodules where you will need to learn Git in order to do it properly. You need to use Git submodules properly, and it will make you a better Git user. I am a far better Git user. I'm not afraid of it anymore. I don't have to squint, look the other way when I push and hope there's not an error. I don't have to handle myself. That's because of submodules and because I screwed a few things up. So that's an advantage in that it helped me learn. It's a disadvantage in that spinning up younger developers, there's some overhead there. There's a learning curve. They'll go, why are things broken? Why can't I push? More specifically, let's see. Okay, this is a more concrete example. Great, my JSON API that's being used in two places. What if they found different versions? Uh-oh. This is actually not unique. This applies to everything in the LabVIEW world. Anyone tried to load two copies of the same thing? This is the same problem. The way to get around this is namespacing, right? But namespacing doesn't include versioning by default. If you grab a namespace of something, it's still the same thing. You need to put a version string or WID or something in your in your namespace identifier, right? There's no tooling for that now. You can do that manually. If the package manager had the foresight to do it, it's done. Otherwise, you'll need to go rebuild every package if you ever get yourself into this scenario. I would love to see this problem solved before it bites me. So I'm going to be contributing to the conversation, hoping to get this solved. Back to Git submodules. You will learn Git by doing this. In review, no build process. It has a manifest file. That's great. Two things I've seen now do. One thing that's really interesting, if you have a library that's progressing rapidly, maybe it's in its infancy. Okay, I'm in my definition, I have it at the beginning of the hour. You want to transition between the role of user and maintainer often. Git submodules can let you do that. Working in the context of your project, you can go into your library, make changes and commit them back to your library, as long as you do it correctly. So if you need to switch between these, that's great. That actually makes it really good for internal projects with internal dependencies that are in flux, or large projects that need to be broken into modules. Hey, Git submodules. I think they were created for a reason. That's what they're created for.
Can you do Git submodules across Git providers? Like you use
Can you?
Bitbucket and I use GitHub.
If you use GitHub and I use Bitbucket, can you grab my thing as a Git is the standard. If it doesn't Git, it won't work. So GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, if it's a Git provider, that's the standard. If it implements Git, it'll do it. Most of the other features around that are usually in web portals and things and management features. But they all do Git the same. It's Git. You know, your client that implements Git will do it the same. Answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. The multi-dependency thing is tricky. It will make you level up your Git foo. RT targets, coming back to that. The RT target build thing. I can pull in a submodule in my project. I pulled in a TDMS module a while ago. Everything was growing great. I'm making changes on my project. Of course not any changes in my library, but changes on my project. I go to deploy, test things, great. Go to deploy things to a CREO, great. Okay, now I need to commit. SourceStreet does a great job of not letting you commit to your project if you have outstanding changes on your library that's in your project. But these are non-change changes, the dirty dots that LabVIEW does. Again, if you know how to get around those for good, I'd love to know. But I have to revert those changes every time I want to commit my project and an extra step, and it's in the way, and that's frustrating for friends. So, get some of the world away. Can you say all this in a slide? Yeah, we can do that. This is actually some interesting summary here. It's again not perfectly rigorous and academic. This is an attempt to be as formal as makes sense. Some of these empty ones are not applied. Some of these empty ones are kind of neutral. If I need namespacing, classes, LV-lib, PPLs, those are my options. If I'm going to ship something in a package manager and I need namespacing, I'll need to wrap it in something like that. That's where I am today. I'd love to not have to wrap it in an LV-lib that's sticky. I'd love to get away from that. But if I really need namespacing, that's what I've got to do. I can combine these. Any questions here? Okay. Again, coming back to the ideal we set up after evaluating each of these. In conclusion, for code sharing, again, that's our more tightly scoped use case. Git submodules or GPM are where the features are today that will avoid pain. Again, I'm stepping on some toes. I'm unafraid to do so because I like them all. I want them all to be successful. I want us all to be successful, so I want to fix things that are hurting us. Git submodules, GPM. To differentiate between them, again, if you're onboarding many people, GPM is far easier than Git submodules. There's a learning curve there. But if you're dealing with some internal project, Git submodules has some of those advantages that GPM doesn't necessarily have. Going back one level to our other use cases. After this survey, we can see for sharing code, GPM or Git submodules work well for that. For installing IDE-centered tools, VIPM or NIPM work well. They're the tool of choice today. If you're on the boat that needs plugins, test end users perhaps, you need your PPO, you should know who you are. For distributing other artifacts, I have my EXEs I want to ship to 100, like my fleet of machines. NIPM is the way to go. Expected a lot more discussion here. Is this general agreement?
So what I don't see is, what's the difference between GitHub and other source code control tools? So what is it that
Great
GitHub
question.
offers, say, conversion?
Git versus SVN or GitHub versus Bitbucket and GitLab?
Git
Git submodules versus similar source
Yes.
code. Okay, great question. I have heard of SVN. SVN has externals, is what they call it.
External, correct.
I haven't used it. It sounds very, very similar. I don't know if it has the manifest file, but it sounds like an equivalent feature to me.
Manifest file, it will let you keep different versions and log certain ones on a project basis. So some of the projects that you wanted to
You can know what commit you have.
Okay, so
So which version of
You can lock on to a certain commit.
your library?
is that setting stored with your product in any sort of way, or is it part of the state of your SVN client?
It's part of the state SVN client, but
But every
So
time
you
you
can-
commit, you can put in some type of text.
Okay.
So you can say what it is.
Okay.
So you put your version in the text.
Okay, that would be a viable solution to me. The difference I see is it doesn't have a manifest file that's part of the project, it's part of the source code.
Correct. You can also make tags. So every time you have a finished version, you can make a tag with it. And then with that tag, you can
Preserve the.
You could help patch that over with tags.
Put everything, so that's how we do it, is every time we make a tag, we'll put all that other information with it. And so if you want to go back and get a certain software, you just go to that tag.
And that opens it up. Are there other source code equivalent tools out there? I would love to find them. I'm happy on Git because it fits the distributed workflow really
Now,
well.
I don't know, with SVN, we use Tortoise SVN, and Tortoise, their tool is really easy to use, so it's very user friendly.
Right.
I don't know if they have a Tortoise Git now or not. I think I heard someone say they do now.
Yes.
It might be set up.
There's
There's
Tortoise
Tortoise
Git.
Git, yeah.
So, and also it was set up where you could use it with the projects, where it actually stable it up.
One
I
last.
have a giant problem with all of this, which is our company is just, IT is locking us down from getting any kind of stuff from the outside world. And I don't know if anyone has wisdom they can share.
So we might have to get copies on the old way, where we have to.
Yeah, that's the age-old problem of a closed network.
Another package manager does a little workflow for that. You host your own local repos. And, in effect, make copies of the packages, install them on the local repo.
See, our IT would want to take that, load it in their thing, and then have us take it from them after they sanitize it, make sure there's no problems.
That's true.
And by then, will have totally changed anything you guys did for providing, making it easy for us to get there. I don't know how to get around that.
I don't have answers, but maybe that's something the community can come together and help solve a bit better as well. As far as I know, most of the package managers
Everything's going
allow
on the cloud and
local
they're
repo of
walking
some
it
sort.
away.
Coming back to this, last room had strangely little discussion here as well. I think in general, maybe not in a fine-grained way, I think most CLAs here are kind of mostly on board, even if we haven't worked out the details. I would like, if you go to any Python tutorial anywhere, there is a way to get packages, there is a way to set up a project, there's a way to do this, there's a way to do that. There are norms. We have a norm, she's great. I would love to have community norms around how to share code.
Yeah, okay.
This is a good recommendation.
This is where we stand today. Do we want to stay here forever? And this is what, Chris, you have changed my presentation after the last couple of days of conversation. I'm gonna go somewhere else. Is there a path someday to one package manager to rule them all? Others may have to die or something to get just one. I don't know. This is a long road, but before we can kill off the package managers that don't make it, we need to figure out what the right solution is, where we want to go. So I want to start that with some thoughts that came out of this. For sharing code, I want project scope and cell scope. For global tools, I want, or IDE tools, I want for LabVIEW install scope. For EXEs, for drivers, I want global install scope. What else would it need? It would need to have NI drivers, tool network, private feeds, private hosted repos. This is a high goal, and this is above and beyond any other package manager solution out there, even beyond, looking at all the others out there in the world.
One other bullet point, what else would it need?
Yeah,
Access to the community feed.
access to community feed.
Yes, that's what they
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. So I start the conversation. Maybe I should make a poster on the lower forums. I plan on it. I want us talking about this. We can't build it until we figure out what we need.
Something else that the package manager needs to be is sufficiently open source to prevent yet another package manager.
Yes.
Okay. So I get the whole entire, each of the package managers have their strengths and weaknesses. By virtue of having multiple package managers, we are ultimately killing ourselves.
If we could join the strengths together,
That's right.
that's how it joins together to one. Really, it's kind of a melding that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you had some reuse code that you were thinking about sharing, and you're gonna have to pick one ways to get out there that G Central can see, it seems like you're saying GPM is probably the place to put it right now.
Is GPM the place to put your code today if you want to share something? In my opinion, it is. It's got the features that will share it with the least amount of headaches. That's our goal. Is GPM long-term the tool we want it to be for the whole everything? Maybe not, but today if I want to share code, that's where I'm at.
Or GPM able to make theirs open source.
It is.
GPM is open source.
It is.
Do you ever look at the package comparison page I had?
No, I discussed that last hour. There is a comparison page on the LabVIEW wiki. I plan on merging this with that and contributing to the discussion there. I think that's important. Yes, to everyone, Chris?
Yeah. So it's as objective as a comparison as I can think of. Like, for example, is the package manager open? Yes, no, no. Are there pre and post install build steps? Yes, yes. So ideally, we identify what are the key features amongst all of the package managers, and we push and have them all merged into one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's one possible solution. Another possible solution is that we allow inter-package management dependency.
Getting there.
Okay, go.
This is a lofty goal, and even if we can agree on it, it'll take a long time to get there. We're going to build it, right? So what can we do today to put us down that path? That's more immediately in our control. The first one that comes to mind is exactly what you said earlier, inter-package manager dependencies. That's a low-hanging fruit feature that if each of the package managers implement that, we get close. Does anyone have any other thoughts? We're nearly out of time. If there are any burning comments, let's take them. Otherwise, we can wrap up.
I came in late, I was in the layout, so I don't know if you mentioned, the best package manager I've ever run into is the apt package manager in Debian Linux. It supports all of this stuff. It's got manifests, it does source code, it does binaries. There are other options too. I mean, there's the pip package manager from Python, obviously there's npm for but you know, and apt has the advantages, it is open source, obviously. I don't know if we could, and GPM is modeled after NPM, so I mean, could we take some ideas from that?
I think we absolutely need to take ideas from that. I'm actually running like Windows VMs on a Linux operating system here. I run an apt package manager. I think apt addresses the global install. I think it's all built around the global install. I don't think there are different install scopes there. I don't know because I'm not an apt expert.
I'm not an app expert, but I know you can do different versions. You can have parallel versions with that. It does do dependencies. I don't know what the options on it are.
So the killer is, my soul would die if there was a fourth package manager.
I don't want a fourth package manager, but you may be able to use something like apps to wrap the other package manager.
Or do we leverage some of the
Yes.
technologies from apt in whatever this is?
Yes, exactly.
I want to, so if we take a package manager and wrap the other three package managers, you just created a fourth package.
Well, sort of, kind
And then if we can adopt the technologies and merge it into a currently existing standard, that's
And one's open source.
yeah, G package manager is open source. We can
Open
bring it all.
source, apt is open source. We could potentially leverage that. I like that discussion.
Ooh, and it's written in G, memory serves.
G package manager is written in G.
So it's accessible to all of us. That's a pretty big point.
I'm getting the gong.
Sorry.
And where is it?
Yes.
One last thing, resource here, source tree, gpackage.io is where to find that. Get stuff on those, are all over Google. I'm andrew@digit.com. Thank you.